In 2012, Lonely Planet awarded the town of Oamaru the coolest town in New Zealand. So I've come here today to find out if that still stands. To many sources, and particularly one Lonely Planet article, Oamaru is considered to be one of the coolest towns in New Zealand. So I drove up to have a look, to find out just what it was like and if it was really that cool. Oamaru is situated on the South Island of New Zealand. It is situated on the east coast of this island, and it is about 248 kilometres south of Christchurch. Also, it is about 113 kilometres north of Dunedin. As of June 2023, the population of Oamaru was around 14,000 people. Oamaru's history. Oamaru's history began with a Māori settlement. These have now turned into some very important archaeological sites that are situated around the area of Oamaru. Those at the Waitaki River mouth and at Aramoana both date all the way back from the Arctic phase of the Māori culture, when New Zealand's human population was clustered along the southern coast, all from about 1100 AD. The first recorded event of Europeans arriving to Oamaru was on the 20th of February 1770, with James Cook, who was travelling in the ship named Endeavour. In the 1830s, whalers made their home on the current site of Oamaru, and European settlements really started to come about in the 1850s. In 1859, surveyors came to the town to develop it further, and in the 1860s, it grew as a farming town that would provide access to the inland goldfields. Oamaru got a very large and significant port built in the 1870s. Such an impressive site was Oamaru that Sir George Grey, New Zealand's Prime Minister as of 1876, had this to say about it. Then, as I looked at your buildings rising in stone of the utmost brilliance, of a kind I have never seen before, I thought, Oamaru is a fair maiden that sits by the sea. Novelist Janet Frame called it a kingdom by the sea. A visitor to Oamaru remarked, the entire colony admitted to Oamaru to be a town of fine buildings. Industries of New Zealand, 1898, went further, claiming that for its bustling activity it reminds one of the Far East and tales of old times. Today, Oamaru is hailed as possessing the country's most complete Victorian townscape, as well as the most intact Victorian/Edwardian deep sea port in the southern hemisphere. Interestingly, one of the most significant parts about Oamaru's history isn't technically in Oamaru, it's just down the road. Have a look. Now, if there's one thing you know New Zealand for, it is by far and away them. Now, of course, we're here at Totara Estate. This place opened up in around 1860 and started as a relatively successful farm. However, the key point about this place is what happened around the 1870s. This place sent the first ever frozen meat abroad to the UK. Now, this is important because this is now over $1 billion industry and is right up there with New Zealand's main source of income, right there with tourism. This place now fantastically mixes both still today. So, why is Oamaru still considered to be one of the coolest towns in the country? A lot of this is to help with the fact that Oamaru has over 70 heritage buildings, registered as categories 1 or 2, historic places in the New Zealand Heritage Register. Most of these can be found in the Victorian precinct in the southern part of Oamaru. This commercial district ranks as one of New Zealand's most impressive streetscapes due to the prominent 19th century buildings that are constructed using a local material. This of course being Oamaru limestone, which helps to give all the buildings this nice creamy pale texture to them. Another thing Oamaru is famous for is for being the steampunk capital of New Zealand, but not only of New Zealand, of the entire world. Now, what is steampunk? Steampunk is an art style that is inspired by the Victorian era industrial, mixed with sci-fi. That's not the technical term, but that's the best way I can describe it. And Oamaru has a fantastic museum dedicated to all things steampunk. On top of this, they also have a playground which takes heavy inspiration from the steampunk style. However, if you really want to know what the town would have looked like back in the Victorian era, they do have an annual Victorian festival where they have parades, Victorian games, and everyone dresses up as if they were from the Victorian era. Oamaru also has a small penguin colony, which you can go to see a lot of penguins rummaging around, trying to find their home along the beach. For my concluding statement, Oamaru is a fantastic little town, but realistically you can see everything in a day, making it the perfect place if you want to stop by on your way down or up the country. If you're in the region, definitely stop for a coffee in the historic precinct. Go have a wander, admire the old architecture and look at some of the arts and crafts stores. Check out the steampunk places and make sure not to miss this place out on your adventure through New Zealand, as it is a golden icon of New Zealand's history. Thank you for watching.